Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. It is week 14 of the college football season, better known around these parts as rival. We try to say rivalry. See, now I can't. Rivalry week is how one would say that if one was not Elmer Fudd.
Yes.
Rivalry week is what I end up saying when I am trying too hard. I mean, big games this weekend and an absolute mess trying to figure out who's going to play in what conference. Title game, that would be championship week, which is next week, and we will get to that when it's appropriate. We will also get to last weekend because Carla, that was nuts. That was absolutely nuts.
Bonkers. Yes. Last Saturday was a lot of fun.
And we're going to start with AJ, who is going to update us as we get closer. You know, the college football playoff rankings, seed and the brackets, they become a little bit more important. And if nothing else, try to help you figure out who's going to be playing in what title games. But AJ, you wanted to start us off with the rankings that were just, as we record this on Tuesday evening, that were just released an hour or so ago.
Yes, and part of the reason I wanted to do this is that Carla has only kind of seen them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So we're doing this to get a live reaction from Carla.
Okay.
As to the rankings. So
okay.
I'm going to walk down your top, however many teams here, 12. Mm-hmm. And then we'll go through some of the matchups. Okay.
I put us all on the gallery setting, which I think would change what the recording is going to look like. So we can also, while you were talking, AJ, we can see what Carla is reacting live as we do this.
All right.
So go ahead.
At number 1, we have Oregon. Nothing has moved there. Yeah. Number 2, Ohio State.
Woo!
Nothing's moved there. Yeah. Number 3, horns up, Texas.
Yeah.
At number 3. At number 4, you're fighting Nittany Lions, Penn State. At number 5, after whomping Army, and just listen, Notre Dame out here disrespecting the troops all year long. Number 5, Notre Dame. At number 6, the FAFO team themselves, Miami.
Ooh.
At number 7, you have Georgia. At number 8, you have Tennessee. At number 9, and locked into the ACC championship game, your SMU Ponies are up and running.
Show ponies, let's go.
Love to.
At number 10,
I may remember now by this point of the season. I may actually remember that SMU is in the ACC.
We'll see. Forget they're the SMU Mustangs. I just called them the Ponies. I've called them the Ponies forever.
They're the show ponies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're the show ponies. And I forget that they're the Mustangs to the point where I think I started watching the game. I was like, who are the Mustangs? Oh, it's SMU. Right. I know what conference you're in. I don't know what your mascot is.
Okay. We're between the two of us. We'll get it figured out.
At number 10, your Indiana Hoosiers are still in the playoff, baby.
Good.
At number 11, Boise State and the Broncos coming off of a bit of a scare against Wyoming.
Mm-hmm. It's a tight game.
Your first team out is number 12, Clemson.
Okay. Yep.
Your second team out is number 13, Alabama, which means your last team in, and as of right now, projected Big 12 champion. And we will talk about the multiverse of madness that will happen to get to that game. Your Arizona State Sun Devils, which means that the last 4 teams in are SMU, Indiana, Boise State, and Arizona State, and left out are Clemson and Alabama. And it makes me so happy. Oh, it warms my heart. It grew 3. Listen, we have not had a good November due to world conditions, but buddy, did that just warm my heart. I grew 3 sizes this day.
Carla, your thoughts. Just quick reaction.
I am very pleased that Indiana is still top 10. I think they might be a little underranked where they fell. I didn't think they needed to fall quite that far. They're at 10, right? I was kind of hoping that maybe they'd land somewhere around 8. but that seems about right. And I mean, you have to pick Arizona State at this point just because they would be projected to win the Big 12. But like you said, that's a mess. So right now, it just seems like whoever wins the Big 12 is going to be the 12 seed,
Mhm.
um, whoever that ends up being. And
As we all predicted.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, good on Boise, for securing that first round bye. That's remarkable stuff. They got a big test this week. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's nothing seems out of the ordinary
No,
there.
but let's talk through these matchups though.
Okay, yeah,
So ESPN has projected out if you were to base these on the latest rankings, your number 1 seed and Big Ten champion Oregon,
Mhm.
they get a first round bye.
yeah. Hmm.
Your number 2 seed would be Texas,
Right.
projected to win the SEC, which means that Oregon and Texas, teams that were not previously in the Big Ten and the SEC, come in and immediately win that. That's just delightful. Your number 3 seed Miami
Yeah.
coming in and assuming to win the ACC, which let's not do that yet.
Yeah.
And your 4th conference champion and getting a first round bye is Boise
It's
State.
Boise, right?
So your 5-12 matchup will be your Ohio State Buckeyes hosting Arizona State.
Just as we
I'm
Welcome,
real
predicted.
sorry
welcome
about-
to the exact opposite of the desert, boys.
Welcome to the exact opposite of the desert. But you know who actually I think is built for that? It's Camp Scatabo. If there's anybody,
okay,
the Minecraft character himself, he lives in all biomes. It's fine. At your 9-8 matchup will be Tennessee Georgia rematch
Huh.
in the hedges this time.
Spicy.
No, that was in the hedges earlier
was,
this year.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was.
they just
It was.
run it back.
Uh-huh.
Your 11-6 matchup, and I think this is the one I was really focused on.
Well,
Listen,
6 is
we
Penn
could just
State.
number 6 is Penn State, which means number 11 is Indiana. We're just going to sort this whole Big Ten, who could have maybe gone to the Big Ten championship, just right on out.
Yeah.
So Indiana coming to Happy Valley. And finally, a traditional ACC matchup, your 10 seed SMU going to South Bend to play Notre Dame, which in real life is an ACC conference game at some point in the future.
Yes, yes.
Great
Yes.
job, everybody. Honestly,
Our-
this is what I wanted. When they said, hey, we're doing a 12-team playoff and there's going to be some weird nonsense in, yes, this is exactly what I
is.
wanted. This
Yep.
is exactly what the sport needs. I know that there's a lot of you out there who were like, Bama should get in over Arizona State. Well, maybe don't lose 3 conference games.
Yeah.
Get wrecked.
It's simple.
Go on, get. So I love this. I love the fact that if this were to hold, the first 2 teams out would be teams who have won multiple national championships in the last 10 years. I love that. And teams who are getting a shot. SMU, who was on the death penalty, Indiana, who is one of the losingest programs of all time, Boise State, the team that we've said, get them into a playoff, let them in, and Arizona State, a team that. No, I was about to say they haven't played in a Rose Bowl. That's Arizona, not Arizona State.
Correct.
Arizona State played in the 97 Rose Bowl. That's the Jake Plummer year? Or is that 98?
That was 97
Okay.
after the 96 season.
So there you go.
And they had been there before that too. When one of the reasons that John Cooper got hired at Ohio State was he took Arizona State to the Rose Bowl and beat Michigan, and then got to Columbus and could do neither of those things, with that one exception. So yeah, the Sun Devils are aware of what the postseason is like.
So I think this is all very good. You have 2 lost teams in. You have Tennessee, Georgia, and Arizona State right now all have 2 losses. I think this is good. I don't have any problem with these rankings in any way, shape, or form right now.
Yeah.
I felt like I had the ESPN selection show on when I was prepping for our show, and the guys actually seemed a little disappointed that they didn't have stuff to argue about. They're just kind of looking at each other going, yeah, okay, this is pretty good. And AJ, I agree completely. And I as I said to close last week's show, this is a blast. This is absolutely so much fun. And I am engaged with the other conferences to a degree. I famously admit to being myopic about my college football preferences, but I am engaged across the board more than I have been. It is fascinating. It is fun. And man, we should have done this years ago.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is this takes, for all the shouting and screaming about conference championship games may or may not matter. And hi, Kelly. We saw the posts. Kelly reached out
We
to us
did.
afterwards and said, as a Penn State fan, I would like them to not play in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
Y'all go
Which
get banged up. We would like to just go to the playoff.
Perfectly
Thank you.
valid point. Yeah.
I still think that this gives the only team in this who I'm looking. There's no team in the top 12, or at least the ones who would be in the playoff, who don't have some path to their conference championship game.
Right.
Bama is the first team that doesn't have any path to their conference championship game. Clemson still has a shot if some things work out. Arizona State does. Boise State's already in. Indiana has a shot. SMU is in. Tennessee's the one that isn't, actually, now that I think about it. Tennessee is the one that does not have a shot at all. Georgia's in. Miami's in. Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference championship game. Penn State is involved in some way. Texas is likely in. Oregon and Ohio State are all likely in. Like, all of these teams are also all at the top of their conferences. Like, there's nothing.
Right.
There's no chicanery here. The only thing I will hear from sports talk people will likely be Indiana's still in and Clemson and Alabama are out. And they will claim some strength of schedule nonsense and don't lose 2 games.
Yeah.
This has been a running game. This has been a running rule. So,
Yeah.
Carla, what did you see last week? Anything good last week?
So much. So much crazy stuff. Although I will say that like I missed the play of the season for my Knits, and I'm really mad about that. Because we had family in town for Thanksgiving, and we were switching venues from our house to a brewery nearby. And I had to ask, because I live in SEC country, I had to ask somebody to turn the TV to the Penn State Minnesota game. And kudos to the bar.
Because someone was shouting spoilers in our text thread.
Right. Well, that's what's funny is that, like, so we get there and I had to ask for it, and it took them a while to get the TV changed. But it was funny. I do appreciate the fine staff at Tailgate Brewing right around the corner from my house. When they came over and switched the TV, they apologized. They're like, "Sorry, we're kind of SEC myopic here, because that's usually our base." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it." And they're like, "Who are we rooting for?" Like, they asked me who I was pulling for, so that they knew when to cheer appropriately. And I was like, "Okay, kudos to them. That was fun." I said, I'm a Penn State legacy, and the whole bit, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll see what James Franklin's got it like." And so, like, he knew his stuff, right?
Sure.
Like, the whole thing. So he was like, "Okay, we can pull for Penn State today." I was like, "Cool." And yeah, so it was funny because they were trying to get the TV settled, and Crappy's like texting me in all caps, "What a call, James Franklin." I'm like, okay, that had to have been something for Crappy to yell at me in all caps. Because you don't do that.
No, not really.
And so obviously when I saw the replay, yes, that's the kind of play call that, like, we've been waiting for. And gutsy as hell. Because if that goes poorly,
Yeah.
The boosters are calling for James Franklin to be out, right? I mean, like, seriously, like, that's a season shifter, really.
Yeah.
And gosh, what a call. And for them to pull that game out at the last minute. I mean, so yeah, I wish I would have seen that play live, because I probably would have jumped out of my seat.
Yeah, I guarantee you would have.
The replays were solid. So, but gosh, so much. I don't even know where to start. Boise escaping. AJ, I'm sure you'll get all over that Pac-12 title game. Like, holy heck, what happened there?
Just a delight.
It was. It was just a delightful evening of college football, especially after the afternoon games were not quite as competitive as we had hoped they were going to be. Although, Mike, I'm sure you would probably disagree with that you were very pleased with your outcome. But it was just, I was looking for that game to be a little bit more competitive than it was. Indiana didn't put up quite as much of a fight as I was hoping they would in that game. Game was over early is what I'm getting at. Like, I didn't feel like the outcome was at hand at any point in the second half of that game. So, but yeah, the nightcap definitely made up for it and then some. And I know I'm forgetting some stuff off the top of my head, because I had a quad box go. I stayed up until like halfway through the late slate. And I finally went to bed at halftime of the late games and stayed up all the way through the end of that 4 overtime game.
Right.
The Auburn Texas A&M game,
Yep.
made it all the way to the end of that one. Now, it was funny. I was talking to my parents over the weekend, and they stayed up to watch the end of that game too. So
Okay.
kudos to them.
Nice. Nice.
Kudos
Nice
to
work.
them
Hell
for
yeah,
making
mom
it
and
up.
dad
Yeah.
watching Auburn nonsense happen live.
At almost midnight Eastern by the time that game was over. So yeah, it was the buffeted in spectacular fashion last weekend. It was
It
great all the way
certainly,
around.
it certainly did. AJ, what stood out to you as you're sorting through your spreadsheets and trying to figure out who's going to do what in the next couple weeks?
It was cold and rainy, and none of the noon games were like particular. As Carla said, they were none of them were particularly interesting.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
go outside and I'm clearing my yard of like various lawn stuff,
Yep.
chairs and those sorts of things, putting stuff away, and it's
Mhm.
just rainy and miserable. And then I look at my phone and I see Florida's beating Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And so I stood in my yard in the rain and put on the last drive of the game for Ole Miss, where they could not try to give the ball away harder. The last 2 plays of the games were interceptions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One didn't count, one very much did. Billy Napier might win 7 games this year, y'all. In fact, he's very likely to win 7 games this year.
Yes.
Which is insane.
And he went 4-4 in SEC play.
Mhm. Mhm.
I,
And I
I'm
think
sorry, y'all. You're not firing him.
all of the losses were to ranked teams as well. If I
Yes.
remember
Yes.
that, there's
Florida's losses were to Miami, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not like, if you're a Florida fan, knowing what you had coming into the season, not being happy with your coach, and the only teams that he lost to were teams who were like Texas and Texas A&M. The winner of that game is going here. Spoiler alert for the SEC thing. We've last week when there was like 500 different outcomes. It's now down to 2. Georgia's in, and they're playing Texas or Texas A&M. The winner of that game, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Which means they lost to all 3 teams who are going to the SEC championship game of some
Yeah. Yep.
grouping. They almost beat Georgia. And if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt, I think they beat Georgia.
Mhm.
They almost beat Tennessee. They could, I can't remember the Texas A&M game now. They got pantsed by Miami. No one knew what Miami was, and that was their the Cam Moore coming out party.
Yes, it was.
So I would say that Florida is in a really great state. Or is in it not a really great state, but they're in an upward trajectory. Like,
Yeah.
you've got
For
DJ
sure.
Lagway coming back. You've got talent that you can go get. You can now say like, "Hey, son, come on and play for the Gators, and let's kick this over the hill."
Mhm.
But yeah, Carl is absolutely right. The later slate of the day is when the fun kicked off.
Yeah.
High Arizona State, and almost getting refs killed that one time.
Yeah.
That
There's
was
a
ugly.
video, don't watch it around children, but there's a video of Kenny Dillingham losing his mind
Yes.
at the refs who are like
There's
in the
still
little
1
hood
second.
thing,
Uh-huh.
trying to say there's 1 second. He is screaming all the swear words at them. All the while, all of these angry ASU fans who have already stormed the field are like, just call the game. Just be done here. And they don't. It took them 15 minutes to clear the field. They get all the students basically just off of the field for the 1 second play. BYU throws up like a 40-yard arm punt. It gets batted down, and then all the students re-rush the field.
Yeah.
There's a time lapse where you actually see human tide, where you just see
Yeah.
all the students rush out of the stadium into the field and then rush back out. It's very, very funny. But congratulations to ASU. They beat BYU.
And got
They
to rush
are-
the field twice, which is
They got to rush
which
the
is
field twice,
a
and they are in
spectacular
the driver's seat for the Big 12 championship.
Mhm.
They just have to beat their most hated rivals.
Mhm.
Whoops. Yeah, there was that game, the Boise State game, Kansas just beating the brakes off of Colorado.
We were
Yep.
we were so right about Kansas.
Very right.
All
We were also-
three of us.
We were. The one game that we just totally didn't talk about that ended up being like wait, what just happened? Oklahoma.
Totally off my radar.
That game was not
okay.
even on my
I
radar.
gave the Sooners zero chance of winning that football game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the amount of chances I gave them were
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that game. It wasn't even in any of our honorable mentions. None of us mentioned that game. And in fact, my husband can attest to this. When I was like paying attention to the game day in the morning, I was like, "Where's Herbie got to fly to this afternoon?" I was like, "Oh, they have to call Oklahoma, Alabama. Woof."
Yeah.
Like I said that, and I was like, "That
Uh,
game's gonna be a dive." And then, okay, where has
Bowl
that Sooners team
eligible
been?
Oklahoma.
Where has that Sooners
Fantastic.
team been all season?
It is fantastic.
Yeah,
Brent Venable spent $94 at Taco Bell
yes, he
only
did.
after the game. Good for you. I don't even want to think about that order. I'm sure he got all the Baja Blast.
Well, he said he took his family, so okay, but still.
Sure. Listen, I've also taken my family to Taco Bell and we could do some damage, but $94 at Taco
94
Bell is still, even
You
with the
gotta
insane
work.
prices that Taco Bell has, 94 is some work.
Yes.
Crappy. What'd you see?
Um, Much of it has been covered. I wanted to make sure we got credit for Kansas beating Colorado because all three of us saw that coming. I hope you guys felt my mental suggestion on Tuesday night that you watched the Bobcats the following evening. I also hope you kind of skipped the first half because that was not pretty on either side of the football. But the good part is that OU only needed one half to beat Toledo pretty thoroughly. We will talk about this more. I will talk about this more later. But if Bobcats win at home against a not good Ball State team, they will be in the MAC title game, playing for a championship that they have not won since I was 2 years old. So we're hoping for that. Obviously, want to talk about Ohio State and IU. Kurt Signetti might want to Google special teams help, because I think that was large. That was one of the big differences of the game, and that's Ohio State's special teams have been unremarkable for a long time. And at the end of the season, this has picked up a little bit with blocked punts. In this case, one we don't get credit for. The IU's punter just dropped a wet ball. Good snap, should have been no trouble, but that resulted in a touchdown. And then the Caleb Downs return at the beginning of the third quarter. That was a punt return. And that was the first time that Ohio State's done that in years. I don't remember the year off the top of my head. I want to say 2016 or 17 or something like that.
No,
It had been a very long time.
My brain immediately went to Ted Ginn Jr.
He had a few. He had a few of those.
He had a
years.
few.
Ohio State's defense held IU and that offense to 153 yards total. Pressure on Curtis Rourke made a huge deal. There were 5 sacks, I think 8 tackles for loss, a bunch of hurries. And in the second half in particular, Rourke was absolutely rattled. He was missing throws that he routinely made up to this point in the season. IU's defense, I think, is for real. They held Ohio State to 150 yards rushing and 200 in the air. That was enough. Without the special teams mishaps, this game would be closer. And Carl, I agree. In the second half, it did get out of hand, but I was not. I was with only a touchdown lead at halftime. I still wasn't ready to relax. It took a little more time into the third quarter. But I'm glad Indiana did not drop more than it did. I was impressed. They played well, and just got beat by a better team. So I'm glad that they're still in playoff contention. Let's see. We have a whole bunch of big boy games to talk about, most of which will have some sort of bearing on the playoff. They may not get people into the title game, and we'll explain more about that later. But of course, the fun is not limited to our Power Four conferences. We're going to let AJ take us into Group of 5 after Darkland, and maybe if you guys are good, we might even visit the Big 12 buffet. So, AJ, what is coming up this weekend?
We got a few games that are of note.
Mhm.
The big thing that what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through all of the conference championship scenarios for the G5.
Okay.
Mostly because they're pretty straightforward. It's the Big 12 that's a mess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I'm going to start on. I'm trying to figure out where we're going to start with the MAC.
Mhm.
Right now, it is Tuesday. Buffalo has already won 43-7.
Okay. Yeah.
So that puts one championship scenario out already, which was a Bowling Green Miami MAC championship. They
Mhm.
needed Buffalo to lose. Buffalo did not lose. So we are now down to a few scenarios, which actually come down to Saturday, I believe, at noon. Or sorry, Friday at
Friday.
noon.
Yes.
Noon on ESPNU, we have the hated Miami Redhawks
Boo.
playing the Bowling Green Falcons. Bowling Green favored by 2. Fun
Less
index
boo.
is a rough 40.5. And also at noon on CBSSN, the network of
Champions.
champions, broadcasting live from Athens, Ohio.
Woo.
You got Ball State going to Ohio. Ohio is favored by 14.5, and the fun index is a much more reasonable 52.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
These two games have MAC championship implications. Specifically, if Bowling Green and Ohio win, you get a Bowling Green, Ohio MAC championship game. If Ohio loses and Bowling Green wins, it's Bowling Green and Buffalo in the MAC championship game.
Right.
And if Miami, who is playing Bowling Green, wins and Ohio wins, you get a Battle for the Bricks MAC championship game.
Oh,
Those are
man.
your three outcomes.
Oh, man.
All of those are very much on the table.
Yeah.
This is very kind of the MAC to put two of their top teams in a game in the last game of the season. Both of them are 6-1. Effectively, lose and you're not playing in the MAC championship.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fun. Whole season comes down to one game. Delightful. Crappy. Who you got?
Um, I think OU's going to win pretty handily. As I said, Ball State, 3-8 overall, 2-5 in the conference. OU's defense is playing very well, and the offense goes in spurts, and Parker Navarro is a good, certainly not great, not Canadian quarterback mafia level, but but good dual threat quarterback. He gets a lot done with his legs, and when he gets going, that really opens up the offense. So OU's winning that game without too much trouble. The times I've seen Ball State play, I pay a little more attention to Miami because they're OU's rival. But the times that I've seen Ball State play, I've been impressed. They're
You mean
only
Bowling Green?
excuse me, Bowling Green.
There you go.
They're only a 2.5 point favorite at home. But I'm gonna pick the Falcons to win that one, as much as I would love to see an OU Miami title game. I would not be sad about that at all. But I think I'm gonna give BG the edge at home in that game.
Wasn't last year a Miami Ohio MAC championship game? Am I misremembering that? Going to my mind palace for that one.
I'm gonna look that up.
Toledo played in it, I think.
I think Toledo was the champion last
Yeah.
year.
No. Carla, who you got?
Yeah, I'll take Ohio in that matchup. And gosh, that other matchup, Miami and Bowling Green's gonna be entertaining as heck. The MAC title game that I want to see is Ohio Bowling Green. Having seen Bowling Green a couple of times this year, I'm very intrigued to see what that team can do against. We've already seen Miami and Ohio. Like we've already seen that game. I want to see Bowling Green, Ohio in the MAC title game. So I'm going to say Bowling Green figures out a way to win that game at home.
I'm going to go with Bowling Green in Ohio as well. I think I think Bowling Green is the class is either it's them in Ohio that are the class of the conference. I think Miami is okay. I think they're pretty good in the MAC, but I think Bowling Green is better. again, thank you to the MAC for making that a little bit cleaner. So your MAC championship game, you heard it here first, Bowling Green and Ohio. Bowling Green would host. Do they do the neutral site MAC game? Or is that the MAC
They
championship?
play.
Is at,
They
at
play
Ford
that
Field.
in Detroit.
Got it. Okay, so Bowling Green would be the home team because they would be the higher ranked team. We're going to go to the CUSA, and I want to thank the CUSA because God bless them and their schedulers for just seeing the future. Big, gigantic third eye opened and saw the future because the top 4 teams in the CUSA all play each other on the last week of the season. And that is Jacksonville State, who has a 7-0 conference record. They are locked in. They are in the championship game and will host. Liberty at 5-2, Sam Houston State at 5-2, and Western Kentucky at 5-2 means you get a lot of generations here. If Liberty wins, they're in. They have already beaten Sam Houston State and Western Kentucky, so they just have the head-to-heads. If they win, they're in. If Sam Houston State wins, by the way, just so we're clear, I realize now that I'm not doing my job as the correspondent and I'm not giving you the actual stats. Jacksonville State is at Western Kentucky at 4 p.m. on ESPNU on Saturday. Western's favored by 1.5. Fun Index is a good and healthy 60.5. And at 3:30 p.m. on CBSSN, right after the Ohio game, is Liberty at Sam Houston. The Libs are favored by 3. The Fun Index is 47.5. So Liberty getting 3 on the road.
Okay,
that's a spicy meatball. If Sam Houston beats Liberty, they will, and they need Western to lose to make the championship game. So Jacksonville State needs to beat Western, and then Sam Houston State needs to win. Western Kentucky needs to beat Jacksonville State, and then they would rematch them later in the same place. And then they need Liberty to lose. So there's a number of different scenarios here that play out, but Jacksonville State is locked in. And Carla, I'll start with you as our CUSA representative.
I really want Sam Houston to win at home. I just do. And I think it depends on how Jacksonville State takes this game. Like, this is an interesting coaching move, right? Because Jacksonville State doesn't need to win this game. So do you go out to try to win the game, or do you just say whatever happens, happens, and we will make peace with whatever happens? I don't know how they're going to handle that. Western playing at home, they're going to be amped for that game because they know they have to win to make a conference title game. I still think Jacksonville State is like the cream of the crop this year. In the CUSA, and I'm going to say Rich Rod's not going to let them slack off in this game. So I'm going to say we're going to end up with a Jacksonville State Sam Houston CUSA title game, with both of those teams winning on Friday and Saturday.
Mike, who you got?
Jacksonville State has been impressive, even back to last year in their first season with the big boys. I still, Western has stumbled a couple times. The time I've seen them play this season, they have looked solid all the way around. So I'm going to pick Western, and I'm going to pick Sam Houston just because I don't want to pick Liberty. So that's where we're going for the CUSA championship game.
Liberty is coming off of beating a Western Kentucky team. Jacksonville State has beaten Sam Houston and Liberty already. So if they beat Western, they will own the entire set.
Collect them and trade them with your friends.
I will point out they are at Western Kentucky. They are not at Jacksonville State. So the rematch would effectively be a home and home if if Jacksonville State Western needs to beat Jacksonville State to get in. So the question is, does Jacksonville State take a loss to Western knowing that they get in, and then the Basically they all become actually Sam Houston State plays already, so Sam Houston State and Liberty will already played. So the championship game will be decided already as to what will happen based on whoever wins the Jacksonville State game. I'm taking Jacksonville State to win that game. I think Rich Rod keeps them up. Don't let up anything. Don't let them win. This is, yes, you can lose this game. You're still in the conference championship game, but don't let them in. And I think Liberty beats Sam Houston. Sam Houston has not looked great. They have escaped a number of games here, and their two losses in conference are to Western and Jacksonville State. When they play the better teams, they lose. So while I like Sam Houston here, I would love to see them beat Liberty and get a big home win going into the conference, into a potential conference championship game. I think Liberty wins that game, sadly. Let's go to the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt, the last conference with divisions. Just so we're clear here, they're the only ones who didn't give up. They did not surrender. They are sticking to the old ways. So we get to cover a number of different games here. We're starting with the fine folks and at Marshall, because I think they play first. No, Marshall and James Madison is last. We'll get to them in a moment. We start on Friday, 3:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. You have Texas State going to South Alabama. South Alabama is currently second in the Sun Belt West. They need to win, obviously, here against a very good Texas State team. Let's not sleep on Texas State. The Texas State is favored by 1 at South Alabama, and your total is 61.5. So they expect some points here. South Alabama needs this to go to the conference to have a shot at the conference championship game. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns are currently 6-1 in conference. They play their hated rival UL Monroe. Monroe needs that game to get bowl eligible. It is Monroe has fallen completely off the map. They were 5-0 at one point, and now they are 5-6. So all the magic in Fun Row is gone, and they need to get a win here against their hated rival to get into a bowl game. Louisiana just needs to win that game, and they are in the Sun Belt Championship game. I'm taking the Raging Cajuns to win. I think the magic is gone in Fun Row, and even if that happens, then South Alabama does not win the Sun Belt West no matter what happens in their game. But who you got in the South Alabama-Texas State game, which I think should be a really good one on Friday?
I'm gonna stick with South Alabama. Having seen them play OU and giving OU a tough game, I have a lot of respect for what they've done. So I'm gonna stick with them.
Carla,
I'm
who you
intrigued.
got?
I'm intrigued by the line.
Mhm.
That's real interesting that Texas State favored by 1 on the road. But my gut says South Alabama playing at home, with a potential, like, you have to win to have a shot to get in your conference title game, like that to me, and it's gonna be senior day for them. So like that to me feels like a game that South Alabama wins at home. So I'll stick with them.
Texas State has all of their games that they've lost have been 1-point loss or have been one possession losses. Yes,
Okay.
one possession losses, including a loss to Arizona State, a 3-point loss to Arizona State, a tremendous game to watch on a plane, by the way. A 1-point loss to Sam Houston, 10-point loss to Old Dominion. That's the only game they've lost by 2 possessions. They lost to Louisiana by 6, and they lost last week to Georgia State by 8. So Texas State has been pretty feisty. They will put up some points. So I'm going to go ahead and take South Alabama. I think they know they need to win that game, and they'll put up a pretty good fight. Noon on ESPNU is the Louisiana Monroe game. I feel like it's Louisiana here. They're favored by 9.5. The fun index is 48.5. Monroe doesn't have it. I think Louisiana does. And I think Louisiana wins the Sun Belt West. Let's go to the East, where we have Georgia Southern and Marshall. Again, these two teams have played. And I believe, if I am not mistaken, because I'm blanking on the result, because I know it was a close game, I believe that's Marshall's only conference loss was to Georgia Southern. Yes, it was, and they lost by 1 in Statesboro back in, I believe that was October. They are on, Marshall plays James Madison at 8 p.m. on ESPNU.
Ooh.
JMU favored at home by 3.5. Your fun index is 52.5. Marshall needs that game. If they win, they are in the Sun Belt title game. If they lose, they need to not have the Georgia State or Georgia Southern, excuse me, the real GSU this year also needs to lose in order to not go to the conference championship game. They are playing at home against App State. You get App State, Georgia Southern at 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. So that game will be finishing as the Marshall James Madison game probably gets into like the second quarter. Georgia Southern's favored by 2.5. Fun index on that one is 62.5. There is some Sun Belt fun in the evening on Saturday. Carla, who you got?
Gosh, well, first of all, kudos to all of us for going all in on Appy State last weekend because we were right. Dang it.
That's right. That's right.
Appy State knocking off JMU at home in Boone. That's so here's the fun thing about that game. So the Appy State Georgia Southern game, Appy needs a win to be bowl eligible.
Sure
There.
do.
Because they're sitting at 5-5. Should we root for chaos? Here's what I think is going to happen. I think App State and James Madison win, which puts Marshall in the title game.
That is correct.
So Marshall's going to get what they want out of all of this. But sure, what the heck? Let's do it. Let's let Marshall back into the game. Let's say JMU at home, App State on the road, just for funsies because they are the Fun Belt.
That is correct. Crappy, what do you got?
I'm going with the fun. I am an Appy State fan, so Appy State over Georgia Southern on the road, and then let's get Marshall into the title game, even if they have to lose on Saturday to do it.
Can I put in a plea here for the bowl gods?
Yes.
If Appy State manages to win this game and get bowl eligible,
Mhm.
can we send them somewhere fun, please?
Bahamas. Bahamas.
After this season, they deserve it.
Appy for the Bahamas Bowl.
Yeah.
Do we get is the Bahamas Bowl even back?
It is back. It is back. I think even in the Bahamas this time.
And not in
and that's
Nashville,
right.
whatever?
They also moved it. It's not the first bowl of the year.
No, it's
like,
weird now. It's late.
Yeah. Where did they put that bowl game? They put that on
like
January 4th.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know what the bowl times for that one are, but yeah, Appy State App State goes to the Bahamas. Let's go.
Let's
Bunch
do
of
it.
rednecks in the Bahamas. I
Let's
love this.
do it.
Nothing
deserve
is
it.
different. Let us go now to the American Conference, where Army and Tulane have locked this up weeks ago. Next, we go to the Mountain West. It's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Memphis and Tulane is on Thursday night. Okay. Thanksgiving, you don't get the Egg Bowl, which is a crime.
Yes.
We'll talk about the Egg Bowl in a moment. But Memphis, Tulane, I'm here for it. I will be somewhere where I won't get to watch that game, sadly. Anyways, let's go to the Mountain West, which is the weirdest of all the conference championship scenarios. Okay. Boise's already locked it up. They're undefeated in conference. Their last game of the season is against the Pac-12 champion Oregon State Beavers. That is at noon on Fox on Friday. That is a 10 a.m. kickoff because Fox hates you, football fans. But we go to the next two teams. Colorado State tripped over themselves and lost last week.
Yep.
If
They had everything locked up.
If they had 5 quarters in that game, Colorado State would have won because they came back in the second half, and just ran out of time.
Yep. And UNLV goes out, gets a big win. And so now you have 5-1 in conference Colorado State and 5-1 in conference UNLV. Boise State plays Colorado State if Colorado State wins and if UNLV loses. If UNLV wins and Colorado State loses, you get Boise State UNLV. If they both lose, dear listeners, if you can remember back to last year when we had to go to the computer rankings, because that is the actual tiebreaker here, because they didn't play each other. You have to go to a composite of the Anderson and Hester, Colley, Massey, and Wolf, which is a lovely law firm of rankings, and the rankings hate Colorado State and they love UNLV. So UNLV currently their average rank is 29.25. The average rank for Colorado State is 77.25. Even if UNLV loses, I don't think they will drop that far. Both of the teams they're playing are ranked in the 100 and teens. So they're both bad losses if they lose. But I think UNLV, if they lose, still gets in. I think UNLV and Boise are in pretty much lock right now. But if Colorado State wins and UNLV loses, Colorado State goes. So, Carla, since we have to potentially go to computers, what do we got here?
Yeah, right. Let's see. I think Boise's gonna have its hands full, at least for a bit, with Oregon State. I think that game's gonna be a little bit spicier than we anticipated based off of Oregon State now feeling like they're world beaters. And hey, let's count this. The Beavs need a win to be bowl eligible. They could be Pac-12 champions and not go to a bowl game if they lose this game. So they're gonna come out with their hair on fire for this one. Boise wins, but the Beavs make that really interesting. And so then I think the two better teams win their games, Colorado State and UNLV. I think they're both going to win their respective matchups, and so we're going to end up with Boise UNLV. That's a dangerous game for Boise. That's and we
That was already a banger.
Yeah,
that was the Friday night game where where basically UNLV put 9 men in the box, had good linebackers that made Maddox Madsen beat them.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun, but it also could be for those of us that want the group of 5 team to be the 4 seed in the playoff. That game could be dangerous for those hopes, depending on how that plays out. So, but yeah, I think we're gonna end up with Boise UNLV.
I think Boise needs to beat Oregon State significantly. They need to maintain, like, this is the other fun part of the playoff, is that even though Boise State is locked in and they can drop this game to Oregon State and still make the conference championship game.
Right.
I still think they need to win it to maintain their status in the playoff rankings.
Yep.
Crappy, who you got here?
Just a quick update. Toledo and Akron are tied at 14, 2 seconds left. Toledo is kicking a short field goal for the win. Their kicker has had 2 awful misses. This one is missed as well. We are going to overtime.
The ESPN website says that Akron is winning 21-14.
That is entirely possible because I'm watching a stream on my phone and I have delayed it a couple times. So that could be, but wow, college kicker situation. Colorado State will have no trouble with Utah. Boise State will have a little trouble with the Beavers. Carla, I'd like your assessment. UNLV was playing whom? I've been watching this and doing UNLV was
Nevada.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they have the rivalry game. UNLV is going to win that one as well, which gives us Boise and UNLV.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, BBD update. That game did go to overtime. Crappy, would you like a spoiler?
Yeah, go for it.
The game is over. Akron won 21-14.
Okay.
Rockets crashing.
Not a good. I did check up last year's MAC conference title game, and AJ, you and I were both right. Miami upset Toledo in the conference title game to win the championship.
The guy in the sweater vest. Hey Carla.
Yes.
Vests. The buffet's open.
Woohoo!
It's time to go to the Big 12.
Let's eat.
Now,
That's
I want to point this
for Thanksgiving week.
that someone at the Big 12 told CBS Sports that there are currently 250 different potential outcomes of the games this week.
This is going to make my brain hurt. It's
right. We're not going to go through 250 of them. Okay. I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different conference championship games. Okay. That's too many.
Yes.
Here's what it really comes down to. You have 4 teams that are 6-2 in the conference. They are not playing each other. Arizona State plays Arizona. BYU plays Houston. Iowa State plays Kansas State. Colorado plays Oklahoma State. Okay. So they're not playing each other, so they don't get to clean that up.
Right.
Iowa State plays Kansas State. Kansas State is one of 5 teams who are 5-3 in conference, which means that one of those teams could potentially go. Both of those teams could go 6-3. If the 6-2 team loses, the 5-3 team wins. You both get 6-3. Texas Tech, who is 5-3, is playing WVU, who is also 5-3. Hey, WVU fans, if you're listening, there is still like a really weird outside shot of you making the Big 12 championship game. I know you and your dreams of getting your coach gone don't want to hear that, but here we are. Right now, Arizona State is in the driver's seat. If they win, they're in. They are the clear leader in the conference. They have beaten all of the good teams in the conference, so they are on track to make the Big 10 or the Big 12 championship game. But a lot of these come down to, okay, well, what happens if these 3 teams win? So if Arizona State, BYU, and Iowa State win, you get Arizona, Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game.
Mm-hmm.
If Arizona and Colorado win and BYU loses to Houston, you get an Arizona State, Colorado Big 12 championship game. Now, I want you to think about this. I want you to let's all put our hats on here. Ready? Think about this.
Okay.
That means that Oregon is in the Big 10 championship game, and you would have Arizona State and Colorado in the Big 12 championship game, which means you'd have 3 Pac-12 teams in other conference championship games. Who's the weak conference now? Like it was hard. Immediately comes in and immediately just walks right into the conference championship game like it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, if Arizona State and BYU win and Iowa State loses, you get Arizona State, BYU. Okay?
Yes.
If Arizona State loses and BYU and Iowa State win, you get BYU, Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. BYU and Colorado win, Arizona State and Iowa State lose, you get BYU, Colorado. That could be potentially fun.
When does like Oklahoma play Nebraska for the Big 12 championship? That's I mean,
well, they potentially could play a bowl game this year because they're both bowl eligible. They only have 6 wins, so that's actually very plausible to have an Oklahoma-Nebraska game this year.
Sweet.
It just won't be for the Big 12 championship game, but they could play it in like, I don't know, the Liberty Bowl. It's close enough to Kansas City, right?
Yeah. It is. It is.
The one that I think I'm most interested in is Kansas State WVU, which is still on the table.
Mm-hmm.
It requires WVU and Kansas State to win. And then they need Arizona State, Iowa State, Colorado, BYU, and Baylor to all lose. And if that happens, if we get like a Big 12 blood week, you get Kansas State WVU in your conference championship game. It is. I will send. I think we could. I don't know, Crappy, if we can make the art, or we could send out this as part of the Substack. But here are all of the scenarios, including. And by the way, this is just a tasty selection of them. I do not have all 250.
Okay.
I only have these actually the scenarios I have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 15 different scenarios.
Okay. We can embed that in that. So yeah, we'll give people a chance to take a look
It is there's so much going on here. We're not going to go through all this. I think I'm gonna pick Arizona State, Arizona. We'll talk about that one. And we will talk about Iowa State, Kansas State.
Okay.
Arizona State. Tabs. Why are we doing this? I was looking for the scoreboard tab and I had closed it when I saw that Akron had already won. Just in shambles over here. We go now to the Big 12. We got back there fast. We got good internet here. Noon FS1. Sorry, 3:30 on Fox. Noon FS1 was West Virginia. 3:30 p.m. on Big Fox. Arizona State goes to Tucson to play Arizona. Arizona State favored by 8.5. Your total is 53.5 in the Territory
duel
Cup.
in the desert for what is the trophy?
It's the Territory Cup.
Territory Cup. Yes, thank you.
This is there have been a number of various results that have happened in this game over the last few years that are just like good hating scores. Like Arizona State putting up 70 on Arizona State. Sorry, it was the other way around. Arizona State 70, Arizona 7. They got palindromed somehow. It was just a delight to watch. I think Arizona State just goes in and blows the doors off of Arizona. Arizona has two players. They have Noah Fafita and they have Taro McMillan. And Taro McMillan will get his catches, and that's it. There's nothing else on that offense. I think it's going to be loud. It's going to be fun. This is going to be an exciting game, but I think Arizona State comes out with a win here. Crappy, who you got?
As we've discussed, the Sun Devils have four straight wins, played their way into Big 12 contention, kind of out of nowhere, and into the playoff bracket as it stands now. It is true that Arizona has a pretty significant advantage in this series, but State is going to eat into that stat on Saturday and win, I think, going away.
Carla, who you got?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Although deep down, I'm a Wildcat. I have some familial ties to U of
Okay.
A. But Arizona State's it this like they're legit this year, and I think the Wildcats can make this interesting for a while. Maybe it's a rivalry game. Throw the records out for maybe the first quarter, maybe close to halftime. But Arizona State is the better team, and they're going to win this game.
And it's 7:30 on Fox because Fox has the biggest games of the Saturday. There's some game that's happening in Michigan, and then then they go immediately from that to Arizona State, Arizona, as God intended. And then at 7:30 on Fox, you have Kansas State traveling to Ames for Farmageddon, which, by the way, hold on, let me just double check this so I don't have this one on the list. Oh, that's right, because they play each other, they would knock each other out. There was a potential at one point to have an Iowa State, Kansas State Big 12 championship game. So you could have had Farmageddon. Well,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So you would have had this game, then you would have had the Big 12 championship game.
Right.
And then they are the Dublin game that opens next season. So potentially these teams play each other 3 times in a row across 2
Wow.
different seasons. That's fun. But no, we have Kansas State going to Ames. Iowa State is favored by 2.5, and the fun index is 51.5. And Iowa State has just been a mess. They narrowly escaped Utah. They played well against Cincinnati. They lost to Kansas. They lost to Texas Tech. They have just been kind of wonky. And I think that's what makes this a little bit interesting. And Kansas State has also not exactly looked great. They've looked fine. They beat the crap out of Cincinnati last week, but they lost to Arizona State. They lost to Houston, and they escaped against Kansas before that. So I think this game is super, super close. I think Iowa State comes out on top. I think Iowa State has played enough of these fool around games that they've gotten good at fooling around. So I'm going to take Iowa State here. I don't know why. It just feels like this is their moment. And they cement themselves with a shot. Again, they need help. So does everybody else. But they cement themselves into a Big 12 championship spot with a win here. Carla, who you got?
Just for funsies. Power Cats. Let's go. I don't know. It just, to me, this feels like a game like you said, both these teams have been up and down for the last several weeks. But K-State coming off of that big win against Cincinnati, riding a little bit of momentum. Like you said, Iowa State's been a little bit all over the place, had to escape a Utah team that's not very good this year. And the one thing that will continue to impress me now is that Kansas State was Kansas's last loss. They were the last team that was able to beat Kansas before Kansas went on this run. K-State wins this game close, to use a Corso reference. Close.
Oops.
Mike, who you got?
I'm gonna say Kansas State. This feels like a cold weather kind of grind it out sort of thing, and between what's his Avery Johnson and Giddens, the tailback for the Wildcats. I think they're equipped to do that. So I'm going with K-State.
By the way, this game was the game that was played in the absolute whiteout snow last year.
Yes.
Yes.
The temperature at game time, according to AccuWeather.com, is going to be 21.
Perfect.
And I believe the wind chill will be somewhere in the teens.
Love it.
So it's going to be chilly, I guess is what we will say here. So that should just be good, cold football, running the football, games. Speaking of games, is there a game we need to talk about up north
We
in a northern location?
I would like it to be noted that I have not mentioned Ohio State's opponent yet in this show. I am wearing my 62 jersey in honor of Ohio State putting 62 on the team up north. It's been too many years since that has happened. But yeah, before we get to the big boy slate, I want to explain this a little bit. It's an interesting kind of just as part of context. With just a couple of exceptions, the big boy rivalry games look to be on paper at least a lot of mismatches, a lot of potential for blowouts. But because they are rivalry games, they are dangerous games, and teams like Tennessee, teams like Notre Dame, maybe even Alabama, need to be paying attention this weekend, or something could bite you. And you don't want to pick up a loss this weekend, especially if you're still hoping to sneak into the top 12 in the playoff. So we have a list, a fairly long list. We're going to go through these fairly quickly. Starting on Friday with the game that should be played on Thanksgiving, so we
Yes.
could have a break from Sunday football on Thursday. The Egg Bowl, 3:30 p.m. on ABC. Mississippi State at number 14, Ole Miss. The Rebels are favored by 26.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a truly fun 61.5. AJ, what do you see here?
Mississippi State is not it. They are
No.
0-7 in conference. They are 2-9 overall. This is a bad clanging year. This is usually a game where this is a crab bucket game where
Mhm.
like one of these teams is like, no, you're staying down here with me. And it's still possible,
It's
but I don't
always
think it
possible.
is.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is a letdown game for Ole Miss entirely because they are ranked 14th in the latest. They are the number 14 team. They are behind Alabama. And after losing to Florida and after losing to they lost to somebody right before Florida, and now I'm blanking on it. No, they beat Georgia. That was the thing. They beat Georgia and then had the letdown game against Florida.
Yeah.
I truly think that this is a blowout for them.
Mhm.
I think they go out and they just try to like put it on Mississippi State, try to get into a good bowl game. I think this is where they try to get into a good bowl game, and then you get to watch the opt-outs happen. But let's see I think they take it out on Mississippi State. Rivalry game. Hey, you didn't beat Florida. You're not making the playoff. At least beat the hell out of your rival. Give me the Rebs to win.
Carla?
Yeah, if they weren't playing at home here, I would say that maybe the Bulldogs can make this, like maybe they could cover. But no, I mean, Ole Miss is playing at home. They're going to run the score up if they get the opportunity to do that. It's a rivalry game.
Mhm.
So yeah, Ole Miss wins this game at home pretty big.
Okay. Okay. If not for how awful the Bulldogs have been this year, as AJ said, winless in the SEC. This would be a game I would suggest is ripe for an upset, given the Ole Miss's recent history. State is not good. Ole Miss should win this one without a whole lot of trouble. Next up, 7:30 on Friday, clean old-fashioned hate. You'll find this game on ABC. Georgia Tech at number 7, Georgia. The Bulldogs are favored by 19.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is Midland 53.5. Carla, what do you think about this one?
Look, they call him the Ramblin' Wreck for a reason. And they've been living up to that expectation this year. Georgia Tech is meddling in some stuff.
Hmm.
And they've done that all season. Georgia cannot let their guard down here. They absolutely cannot let their guard down because, I mean, no, it's not going to impact them for a conference title, but it could absolutely impact them for a playoff spot. This is a Georgia Tech team that beat Miami,
Hmm.
that gave Notre Dame a bit of a game at the beginning, that knocked off Clemson at the beginning of the season. Like, this is a Georgia Tech team that is not afraid of big time opponents. Now, this game is between the hedges, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech makes this interesting, but Georgia pulls it out.
Okay. Okay. AJ, what do you think?
Eyeballs on this game. Georgia, I think, got a lot of people back on their side when they beat the hell out of Tennessee.
Mhm.
But before that, they had multiple weeks where they looked shaky.
Yeah.
Do they potentially get it together? Do they potentially not have it together? And they're looking ahead to an SEC championship game because they're locked into that. They're not going to miss that. By the way, if you'd like to go to this game, according to, I believe this is a StubHub link
Mhm.
or Vivid Seats. Sorry, Vivid Seats here on the ESPN website. Tickets going as low as $4,352.
No, thank you.
Just in case you're wondering on that one, you could go to the other game that's happening in Columbus for as low as $227. So you could go to like
Mhm.
10 Ohio State Michigan games and still come out 50% ahead. Okay. Yeah, tickets for this game are very expensive for a reason, and that is Georgia has looked suspect and Georgia Tech doesn't. This is actually a good game. This is a very
Yeah.
rare instance in the last probably 10 years where this game has not been very good Georgia team against a very bad Georgia Tech team, and it's just a paste at the end of the game. I think if Haynes King and Jamal Haynes can get going, they make this hell on that Georgia defense. Georgia's defensive
That'd be
line
fun.
has not necessarily played up to where they have in the past.
Yeah.
They've played two games where they got up for it and they looked better, and that was the Texas game and that was the Tennessee game. But other games they did not get pushed around. Even Clemson fans were saying like, we got the crap kicked out of us, but our line didn't cave in. We held our line all day long, and Clemson doesn't exactly have a great offensive line. I think Georgia Tech makes this close and maybe sneaks away with a win here.
Boy, that'd be fun.
Which would just be that's an upset of a lifetime. In the hedges,
Yeah.
you will
Yeah.
listen. They will be, not only will they be smarter and richer, they will be handsomer. Go bees. Crappy who you got here.
Man, this is tough. Tech is absolutely dangerous. And you guys have noted Clemson, Miami a couple weeks ago. They haven't been consistent. They nearly got shut out by a decent Virginia Tech team the week before they upset the Canes. Georgia just got back into the playoff picture. I think they'll play like they want to stay there. This is I would take Tech in the points if I was a betting guy. Absolutely, with almost 20 points. But I think Georgia's going to pull this one out in the end. But I totally agree with what both of you guys said. This is a game to watch because it's going to be a fun one. A game that I'm going to watch Saturday, Big Nude, Fox, known simply as The Game. The team up
It's
north,
Illinois Northwestern.
Illinois
No, sorry.
Northwestern, on the shores of the team up north at number 2 Ohio State. The Buckeyes are favored by 21. The AJ Fun Index is a number that makes a Big Ten fan happy. 42.5 points. AJ, what do you think?
Ew. Just ew.
What else?
So
What else?
listen,
What else do you think?
Listen, if you've got a 21-point spread,
Yeah,
and the fun index is 42.5,
there's math in there that yeah.
that's a 30-10 game, 31-10 game
I love
is
it.
what they're effectively calling for
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
I don't know. The thing that I saw last week that only gives me ever so much pause
Mhm.
is that first half where Ohio State just couldn't tackle. I
Mhm.
texted I texted Crappy while that game was going on, and I'm like, Ohio State, y'all need to figure out how to tackle. This is Indiana, not Alabama. What is happening here? Indiana was doing a bit of running. They made some great second half adjustments. They shut the Indiana offense down completely in the second half. But that first half, they were Indiana was getting things off.
Mhm.
Michigan doesn't have an offense of which to speak. Uh, I don't even know who their starting quarterback is at this point.
I do.
Who's their starting quarterback?
Davis Warren.
Oh, it's Davis Ward.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I think Ohio State wins this game. If they don't, oh man, the dialogue about Ryan Day is going to be absurd.
Mhm.
But I think Ohio State wins this game. You don't, if you're 10-1 and you're number 2 in the country and your only loss is to Oregon and you're this you win and you're in the Big Ten championship game and you're likely going to the playoff, you can't lose to a what appears to be kind of butt Michigan team. The only thing I will say is Michigan put up 50 on Northwestern last week.
Hmm.
Did they figure some things out?
Mhm.
Did they not? I don't know. Northwestern's defense, not Ohio State's defense, to be fair. But I see Ohio State winning this just because I don't see Michigan putting up points. Like I know they scored 50 last week, but I just don't see it from them. Prior to there, they scored 15 against Indiana, they scored 17 against Oregon, they scored 24 against Michigan State, they scored 7 against Illinois, and 17 against Washington. Like they don't have it. They are 128th in passing yards. They are 70th in rushing yards. They have a, I'm sorry to say this to my G5 brethren, they have a CUSA ass offense. This ain't it. If Ohio State loses this game, yeah, you can fire Ryan Day on Saturday. But otherwise, yeah, Ohio State wins here. Carla.
Yeah. So I agree with the assessment that the defense needs to be sharper in the first half from the Bucks. If Ohio State can get up early, like two scores, like it's 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, right? The Bucks are going to run the score up here. They've got
As well they should.
they've
I
got an
hope
axe to
so.
grind. They've got an axe to grind. If they get up like two scores, no hesitation. They are gonna run up that score while they've got it. And I think that's what's gonna happen here. I don't. Michigan doesn't have an offense. We've talked about this. How did they put up 50 against Northwestern? It's that Northwestern defense not very good. I yeah, Ohio State's gonna win this game, and if they get going early, it's gonna be big, real big.
Hey, Crappy. Why didn't Woody Hayes go for 2?
Because he couldn't go for 3.
Mike, tell me about this game.
Um, to be brief, in the second half of the football season, Jim Knowles and the Ohio State's front seven have made it a point, have made it their mission to make the opposing quarterback feel uncomfortable. Davis Warren, you, my friend, are about to have a very bad Saturday. The Bucks will avenge the last 3 years and move on to a rematch against Oregon in the Big Ten title game. Also at noon on ABC, we have number 8 Tennessee visiting our Vanderbilt Commodores. The Vols are favored by 10.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 48.5. Hey, Nashville, how's this game going to go?
Oh, I know how I would like it to go. I don't think that's how it's going to go. I don't think. Although I will say, hey, we called out that Vandy LSU game and they almost did it.
They almost did.
They
Almost did.
almost did it in Death Valley. Here's the thing though, with this game, with it being an 11 a.m. local
Mm-hmm.
kick,
Mm-hmm.
Nashville's kind of a UT town. Like, I know that Vandy is
Yeah.
here,
Mhm.
but like this is gonna feel like a home game for the Vols. It always does. And I think in this case, it is Diego Pavia's senior day, so we do
Mhm.
have that going for the Commodores. But I think the Doors keep this interesting. I think they make it close. I think they make the Vols work for it. But I think the Vols figure out a way to eke this out. But if Diego can figure this out and get the win, we talked about this last week, like there needs to be a trophy or a statue of Diego Pavia on Lower Broadway for winning this game. And hey, if they do, take the goalpost to the river again, Doors, please, because that's what we do in Tennessee is take goalposts to rivers. So pay the fine, take the
Yeah,
goalpost to the
whatever.
rivers if you win this one. But I think the Vols eke this one out in the fourth quarter. Maybe Vandy covers.
Okay.
One score
Okay.
game. Yep.
Okay. AJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a interesting. By the way, tickets as low as $239. It's
Okay.
Wivalwy week. Um, I'm interested to see if Vanderbilt can keep this close. I think if they keep this close, it gets real interesting real fast. Tennessee has been a team where they try to snowball,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and when they can't snowball, it doesn't work. See the Arkansas game. Can Diego get something done here? Can Diego get a graduate degree? Is also what I'm saying. Is there any sort of master's program we can enroll him in? Can we get him in a doctoral program?
Get Andrew on the phone. Let's get him hooked up.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is, can Vanderbilt keep it close long enough
Yeah.
that the Tennessee doesn't get confident?
Mhm.
I would love nothing more than Vanderbilt to rush the field and tear the goalpost down and throw them in the river again. It would just be delightful. Give me, I'm going to still pick Tennessee here. I just think they're a better team. I love Diego. I love what they've done this year, but I think Tennessee is an overall better team. And I think they get a win because they need to keep winning in order to stay in the playoff talk because they're not making the SEC championship game. So they need to get this win, go to 10-2. They would be a 10-2 team making the playoff. And they may need to do some style points here to remind the playoff committee like why they were in the playoff conversation in the first place. Crappy.
The Vols are in at this moment. They're going and Carla, I know you said that Nashville is a Tennessee town. But still, given Vanderbilt's season, Tennessee is going to be walking into an atmosphere in that stadium that they're not accustomed to seeing. I man, I really want to pick Vandy. And I think they are capable. Pavia certainly has it in him. They have, especially at home, they have given everyone fits from Texas on down. And I think if this game is tight going into the third quarter, then you make sure you watch it because that could be a recipe for another overtime game. And Vandy has played in those things and played well. They are used to being there at the end of the game, and if they are, um, if Vandy's still in this game in the fourth quarter, I think Tennessee folds. I really do. And I would love to see Vandy wrap up a dream season by beating the in-state rival in their own house, in their house, in the Commodore's house. But I gotta pick Tennessee. Maybe closer. I think Vandy covers, but gotta pick the Vols here. The Palmetto Bowl. This is also at noon. This one is on ESPN. And this is like the ranked unranked game of the day. Number 15, South Carolina at number 12, Clemson. Clemson is favored by a little teeny 2.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a not so fun 49.5. AJ, what do you see here?
This is one of the best rivalries in college football.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows about it because it's only between these two teams inside of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They hate each other, like super duper hate each other. I did some work in the state of South Carolina, and I was in Columbia before the season started, and it was like one of those years where I was like, okay, South Carolina's going to go like 6-6 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, I mean, we're going to go 6-6. I just hate those. I just hate those kids up in the mountains. I just hate them. I just hate them so much, and they're just so mad about it. This is proper rivalry games.
Mhm.
Clemson has, I think, figured out their offense. They don't need this win to go to the ACC championship game because South Carolina no longer in the ACC. It's been a minute, but I'm interested to see, does Clemson try to get a win here over South Carolina, get some style points as well to try and make a bigger case for the playoff.
Mhm.
They need the win here. Give me Clemson to win here.
Okay.
This is at Clemson. This is
Yep.
not in Columbia.
Yep.
I think Clemson comes out and gets a win here, but if they can't contain Rocket Sanders, it's a problem.
Mhm.
It will be a long, long day for that Clemson defense. But I think Clemson gets it done here, and they likely get an ACC championship bid. By the way, your ACC championship scenarios, if SMU wins and Miami loses, you get Clemson SMU. If SMU and Miami lose, you get Clemson SMU. If SMU and Miami win, you get SMU Miami. If SMU loses and Miami wins, you get SMU Miami. So basically, it comes down to, does Miami win or does Miami lose?
Okay. Okay.
For your ACC championship game to
Nice.
determine whether Clemson or Miami gets in. Two perennial powers in the ACC fighting to play SMU. Delightful. Love this.
Love it. Love it.
Again, the SMU leaves the American, goes to the ACC, goes immediately to the championship game like it was hard.
Wait,
Clemson
SMU's in
needs-
the ACC? Wait,
That is
what?
correct. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
We'll get there someday.
I
We
know.
will get
It'll
there
figure it
someday.
out.
Yeah, give me Clemson to win here.
Carla doesn't have any bearing on title games, but who's going to be the South Carolina state champion?
This is tough. This is tough because when I look at this game, like initially my gut was like, I think South Carolina can win this. Because I mean, if you look at what they've done lately, they've kind of been on a roll other than that little hiccup that they had to eke out against Mizzou. But that was a ranked Mizzou team at the time when they played that game. Gosh. South Carolina is going to make this game super, super interesting, regardless whether they pull it out or not, because they are a legit good football team this year, and they've hung with some of the big boys all throughout the season. What the heck? It's a rivalry game, and I don't want any chance of Clemson making the playoff. Go Gamecocks!
If you will recall last week, we had the discussion about the team you'd least like to play right now. If I had not picked Kansas, I would have picked South Carolina. Clemson is in the midst of a nice season at 9-2. That's how easily how you can classify that. And yes, they are in a position with style points. They can position themselves and for postseason stuff. But I'm thinking that the Gamecocks go into Clemson, South Carolina, and give the Tigers a second home loss on this season. So go Gamecocks. At 3:30 p.m. on CBS, playing for the jeweled
You okay? You good?
I think it's shillelagh. Is how you actually pronounce that. But I just look at the Irish, the Celtic, and number 5 Notre Dame at USC. The Irish are favored by 7.5. The AJ Fun Index is 51.5. Carla, what kind of trouble is Notre Dame going to face when they go out west?
Well, having played USC, right, and knowing that team can give you fits, depending on whether or not the defense is deciding it's going to play this week. That's been kind of the big calling card for USC. They've played defense, but not as consistently as you would like in the Big Ten. But potentially a little bit of a letdown game for Notre Dame here because, I mean, you're literally flying across the country
Yep.
for this, having played literally coast to coast, playing in Yankee Stadium last weekend and turning around and flying to SC this weekend. I think SC can make this interesting,
Mhm.
but I'm sad to say I think the Irish get this win on the road. That just feels I just they're gonna lock this up. They know that this is their last game
Mhm.
to kind of solidify their playoff hopes. Yeah, Irish win this game, but it's closer than what you might expect.
Okay. Okay. AJ.
Um, no, no. Notre Dame has slowly but surely proven themselves that they are actually good. That Northern Illinois loss looks weirder by the minute. Um, I think they go out and absolutely pants USC. USC has not looked good in any way, shape, or form. They have looked anemic all year. They are 6-5. They beat UCLA last week in a not very good game. I watched a
Yep.
good portion of it. It just
Mhm.
is kind of like it was happening, and it was just kind of a slugfest. Notre Dame is too good. Um, I think they go out and they beat the pants off of USC to get because again, even though USC is 6-5, they are a Big Ten team with a name brand, and if they go out and beat a name brand Big Ten team, that will make the minds of the playoff committee happy, and they will stay in the playoff hunt because they don't have a conference championship game to go into. I think they go for style points and they hang a solid 40 burger on USC.
Okay. Okay. I just regardless of what the results have been for the Trojans, and it's 6-5, bowl eligible, great, yay. Uh, they still have the kind of talent to make a rivalry game uncomfortably tight. I do not see USC winning this game. Um, I think that the 7.5 number is pretty good. Notre Dame's going to win this, but our Notre Dame friends are gonna have an uncomfortable afternoon. But they will come away with the win at 3:30. Continuing with the 3:30 state on ESPN. Not so much a rivalry game, but one that could A, be fun, and B, maybe affect positioning in addition to the ACC title game against some team named SMU. Number 6 Miami at Syracuse. The Canes are favored by 11. The AJ Fun Index, get this, kids, I think this is the big one of the weekend. 67.5 points. AJ, this sounds like it's right up your alley.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I think this is a. I'm just interested to see kind of where this goes because
Mhm.
there's a right now the fun index is 67.5 according
Mhm.
to ESPN right now.
Mhm.
Um, Miami needs to win this game.
Yeah, they do.
Full stop. Um, Syracuse is going to make this game stupid. Miami's traveling a
Oh.
whole long way, even though it's
Mhm.
north south. That's still not a short distance. Um, Has Miami been a highly ranked team going to a northern town to play a football game at the end of the season and had their season kind of ruined? No, that's never happened before. Looking at you, Pitt. Looking at you first start for Kenny Pickett was the
Mhm.
Miami game.
Mhm.
Um, this one's fun. This
Doug
one's
Flutie does a little
interesting.
bit of that too.
Um, I think Miami, knowing that they need to keep one, they need to keep winning to stay in the playoff hunt, and two, knowing that winning this takes them to the ACC championship game,
Mhm.
I think they go in and try to put it on Syracuse. I think Syracuse keeps this a lot closer. I think they cover, but Miami does a whole lot of not a lot of foe in this one.
True. True. Carla, what do you think?
Yeah, gosh, weird things happen in the Carrier Dome. And that's yeah, gosh, I really want to pick the orange here. But to me, it's which Kyle McCord do we see?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, McCord has just been unbearably inconsistent this season. 26 TDs, 12 picks. I mean, like this is what happens when you don't have the NFL receiver room that he had at his former school, right? If
Whoops.
oopsies, yeah. If McCord has an on day, this game gets really interesting. But I think Miami figures out a way to get this win. Unfortunately, even though I really, really want to take Syracuse here in the worst possible way. But I think Miami finds a way to pull this one out.
I am a little hesitant to call this a shootout only because the last time I did so with the Orange Men was when they were visiting Pitt about a month back, and they just didn't show up. And McCord threw three first half pick sixes, maybe. Um, it has potential. Syracuse's offense has potential. But I think I'm going to go with stick with Cam Ward and the Canes to win this because he has the same potential for big offense, big offensive numbers, and he's more consistent than McCord is. So, but this is I'm hoping this is a fun game to watch. And I will watch that one over the next one, also at 3:30 on ABC. The Iron Bowl, Auburn at number 13, Alabama. Bama is favored by 11.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 52.5. Carla, what do you think about this one?
If this one was in Jordan hair,
Yeah, that'd be different. That would be
it
different.
would be different because the Tigers are playing for bowl eligibility in this one. All right. And you put this game in Jordan Hare with a Tiger team that needs a win, and suddenly we've got a really interesting game on our hands.
Mhm.
But it's in Bryant Denny. And this is a Bama team that's reeling. Auburn makes this game interesting
Mhm.
because it's a rivalry game. Um, but I think. Yeah, I think Bama's going to figure out a way to get this win at home and finish their season for just like the outside chance that there is absolute chaos because that's still not completely out of the realm of possibilities here. With Alabama sitting right there, there's still a very small chance that like if chaos happens and Bama's sitting right there, you might still be able to sneak your way into a playoff spot, even at like an 11 seed. So, like, Bama needs to win this game so that they stay nationally relevant and just kind of
Mhm.
hang out right there so that people can make the case. Oh, look, Bama. Oh, look, Bama, right? Because that's what they want. They
Yeah.
want people to be talking about them heading into the playoffs. So, yeah, Bama's going to win this game, but Auburn makes it real interesting.
Okay. AJ, what do you think?
I think Alabama wins this game.
Mhm.
Again, it's in Bryant Denny. It's not in Auburn. So you get is you the it's like a weather forecast. Like the chance of Auburn nonsense is like a 20% chance and not
20%.
like a
Okay, that sounds
60%
about right.
chance. That
Sounds
means
about
there's
right.
Auburn nonsense in the area. Okay. Um, I think the thing that we're at right now with Alabama is that loss to Oklahoma just knocked them out of the playoff.
Mhm.
Don't care what they do to Auburn. They're not making the playoff. I know that everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, the committee will do it." No, they won't. No, there's too many other teams that they could put into the playoff, and Alabama is not one of them. We can talk about SEC chicanery all we'd like to. If they're going to do that, they're already doing that with Tennessee. They're already doing that with Georgia. They're already doing that with the like Texas A&M could beat Texas, go to the SEC championship game, and then beat Georgia, and magically Texas A&M is in. Like, and Texas doesn't drop out,
Mhm.
right? And Georgia doesn't potentially drop out either. There's a number of different options where Bama is not part of that conversation. This is the nice part of the new playoff. It's not four spots, and we're not just putting brands in that people will watch on TV. And you have to get to something like a Cincinnati team who went undefeated 2 years in a row and beat the number 5 team straight up head to head
Mhm.
at their house in order to make the playoff. You have a much more diverse set and cast to work with. And even though, yes, you can just go LOL Bama's in the playoff, point to me their best win. It's Georgia, I think.
Mhm.
But other than that,
It's not the win; it's the three losses.
it's the three losses.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm looking at Alabama's schedule right now. They beat Missouri, they beat LSU, and they beat Georgia.
Mhm.
And Missouri is not ranked anymore, and LSU is not ranked anymore. In fact, LSU and Missouri have the same conference record as Alabama. They are both 4-3,
Eh.
right next to Alabama. Missouri is 4-3 in conference, 8-3 overall. So is Alabama. You tell me why Missouri's not in the playoff.
Hmm.
The only difference would be Alabama beat Georgia, then they lost to Vandy. You choose. You could choose your characters here. So I think, and then they lost and did not look good in any way, shape, or form to Oklahoma. I don't see a way for Alabama to make the playoff. I still think they beat
there's none.
Auburn. They win the Iron Bowl. Auburn fans go crazy. Maybe they get that one guy out of there. Who's to say? Who's to say? Who's to hope? Who's to wish things? Listen, Carla, what have we done all season? We've put things out into the universe. We've
Willing
wished
things into
things into
being.
existence.
Yep.
That was one of the things.
Can we will
Indirectly,
into existence this person not being employed there anymore?
that'd be good.
And his defensive coordinator, who's not very good at his job either. Also get out of here. Can I get like, listen, I loved Gus mostly because he was a silly human being.
Mhm.
And would just like, he was chaotic and all over the place, but never at any point was I like, oh man, he's also problematic.
Yeah, no.
Gus was just goofy. Give me Bama to win here.
We saw a glimpse of life from Auburn last weekend with their four overtime win over Texas A&M. Can they carry that over to the Iron Bowl on the road? Probably not. Alabama is reeling like they have not reeled in decades. They're going to find a way on Saturday. As AJ said, inconsequential, other than winning your rivalry game, which is not a nice thing. But that's going to have to be Alabama's consolation prize for the 2024 season. At 7 p.m. on FS1 for the Old Oaken Bucket. Purdue at number 10 Indiana. IU is favored by 29.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 56.5. AJ, does Indiana need style points here?
Sure do.
Okay.
They Purdue need them.
Purdue.
Yeah, I think they hang a solid 50 burger on Purdue. Like, this is a 1-10 team. They're 0-8 in conference. Yeah, you go win your rivalry game by a whole lot. This does, in case goofy things happen in Columbus, keeps you in line for a Big Ten title shot.
It does.
But a big win here, I think, keeps you in the conversation for the playoff. Again, you're playing your schedule. And if you beat the brakes off of the bad teams and you play well against the good teams, you're probably going to be in the playoff.
Which is what they've done.
And I think they go out. I think they cover, and go into basically go into the playoff conversation. If not there, they're going to be in a very, very good bowl game.
Okay. Carla, what do you think?
Yeah, Indiana has taken care of business all season long. I don't see anything changing this week. And as we've seen from our respective teams, Purdue, not very good this year. So I think Indiana takes advantage here. Big win, particularly because they're playing at home. I mean, they're playing in Bloomington. You know, put this at Purdue, and okay, maybe it's a little closer, but no. I actually kind of agree with AJ. I think Indiana can cover.
Okay. And they have a home field advantage this season, which is not a thing that I have seen in all 58 years of my life. Purdue is not good. As I learned last weekend, Indiana is. That is a legit good team. I will defend them. I'm betting Kurt Signetti will have the Hoosiers ready to get the taste of that loss in Columbus out of their mouths. And IU will win the old Oaken Bucket and do it easily. The final big boy game, 7:30 p.m. on NBC. Yes, this is a Big Ten game, guys. Washington at number 1, Oregon. The Ducks are favored by 19.5. The AJ Fun Index is 50.5 points. Carla, the Huskies beat Oregon twice last year.
They did.
What's going to happen this time?
But this is not 2023 anymore. And I mean, Washington, okay, give the Huskies some credit. They did beat Michigan.
Well.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
excuse me. Pardon me.
That's
Mhm.
what we need to say, right? Like, I
Yes.
mean, like this is a Washington team that had a hell of a run last year, and like they're fine. They made a bowl game. Um, it is a rivalry game, so yeah, things might be interesting for a while, but the Ducks are gonna take care of business here. They know what they're doing. They're playing at home. Um, this is gonna be a Ducks win. Maybe Washington can cover, maybe. Um, but no, Oregon wins this game and looks ahead to the next week.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, I think we're pretty well locked in here. Oregon is going to win this game. There's not much I can see from a Washington standpoint where Oregon is vulnerable. I really
Hmm.
don't. I think they have a better quarterback. They've got a better running game. They have a better defense. They play incredibly well. They're playing at home. This is in Autzen, which neither of the games last year were. The game was in Husky Stadium last year, and then the championship game was in Las Vegas. So um, I'm I'm picking the Ducks here,
Yeah.
and it's not close.
Fun fact: the Huskies hold the lead in this series, including the two wins in the regular season and the Pac-12 title game from last year. Um, I'm betting that Dan Lanning has not forgotten 2023, and I think he's going to have his team ready to go. Ducks are going to cruise like the duck on his motorcycle in a pregame in Austin. And as I mentioned, there are a couple of exceptions to the mismatches that we've been talking about for the big boy games. This would be included at 7:30 p.m. on the American Broadcasting Company. Number 3, Texas at number 20, Texas A&M. This this game has promise. Texas is favored by just 5.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a 48.5. AJ, what do you think?
I am so happy that Texas moved back to the SEC. And I'm so happy that the SEC made sure to put this game on the schedule because this is a long-time classic rivalry. A&M and Texas are mentioned in each other's fight songs. Okay? That is the level of petty haterdom that we are entering with this game. Okay? Saw 'em off for sawing off the Longhorns as a rallying cry of Texas A&M. This is being played in College Station. It is going to be loud. Tickets as low as 527 American dollars. Um, ooh, Texas A&M losing to Auburn last week. Not what you want to see.
Right.
Texas going out took care of business against Kentucky. The winner of this game goes to the SEC title game
Mm-hmm.
to play Georgia.
Let's just straight up play it in a game.
I think Texas A&M comes out and wins to put themselves into the SEC title game and launch themselves back into the playoff conversation. I do. They have been playing okay. Texas has not really played well when the big spotlight goes on. They lost to Georgia by a lot at home. When they played those noon games against Florida and Arkansas and Kentucky, it was fine. When they played Mississippi State, it was fine. The only other game they've played this year where it was a big brand name game on big national television was Michigan. And we all saw what happened to Michigan. We're not counting all those eggs yet.
Yeah.
But to put it in proper SEC parlance, Texas ain't played nobody, Paul. And Texas A&M has. And I think Texas A&M gets up for this game. This is a big rivalry game, and they're getting it at home. Give me Texas A&M.
Okay, Carla.
I am really tempted to do the same thing. I'm really, really tempted, and here's why. Because does everybody remember what happened the last time these two teams met?
Ooh, it has been a minute. Carla, it's history lesson
No,
time.
I do not.
This was the walk-off field goal by the Longhorns.
Oh, that's right. They
Okay.
won it, and then the rivalry ended, and so Texas has held the rivalry win for the last what decade now.
Yes. Yes. This was a walk-off field goal for the Longhorns to win. Horns stormed it wasn't the fans didn't storm the field, but the horns stormed the field after it, dog pile in the end zone, the whole thing. Um, the Aggies remember that, and they've remembered that for a really long time. And now they get the horns at their house with a chance to go to a conference title game on the line. Yes, I know they lost to Auburn last week. They are going to make this game really, really, really interesting. Can they pull it off? Yes, I think they are more than capable of pulling this off. The thing is, I think Sark is going to have his guys ready for this one. Because he knows the importance of this game. Can Texas lose this game and still make the playoff? Maybe. I think with just a two-loss team, I think you can probably still find a way for Texas to make the playoffs, so they're probably okay in that regard. But Texas is petty. They want to win the SEC title in their first year. They just do, because that's what Texas does, right? And so I think Sark is going to have his guys ready to go. This game's going to be a dog fight until the very end. But the Horns break the Aggies' hearts again and go to the SEC title game. Get your eyeballs on this one, though. It's going to be a heck of a game.
I go back to what AJ says. Texas ain't played nobody. And our friends in the SEC wanted to complain about Indiana all season. Texas has beaten the teams it should beat, but when it gets involved in a game that's tough, they have not looked so good, and they've had a couple head scratchers against in games that they won. I'm thinking about at Vandy especially. If Texas is the number 3 in the country, a number 3 team in the country, winning at Vanderbilt by 3 points, I think Texas A&M in this game, based on their experience against Notre Dame in the opening game of the season, I think Texas A&M figures out how to win this game at home and get themselves into the conference championship game. Maybe that I don't know if that's going to drop Texas out of the playoff contention or not. But I think the Aggies are going to win this one at home. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carly and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or the show's Facebook page, or both if you want. As you may recall from a year ago, you can read us on our Substack. If you like us in any of those places, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week. Not only will we be discussing how wrong we were, but we will be talking about championship games. Final thoughts for the week. AJ, what you got?
2 things. One, your final Hawaii test is this weekend. New Mexico goes to Hawaii. That means Devin Dampier, a delightful quarterback for New Mexico. Keep your eyes on him. He currently has rushed for 1,000 yards and is has thrown for 2,500 yards. He's like one of the first quarterbacks to do that since
wow.
Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
He's in that category of stats. He's an incredible athlete. And he's going to Hawaii. They are favored by 2.5. Don't care. Get him, Bows.
Yes.
And also the kicker, Carla, who was the kicker who kicked that walk-off field goal for Texas?
Oh, man.
This would be 2011. Let's see if anybody knows their 2011 Texas Longhorns roster.
I should, because I was still in the industry at that point.
He currently is kicking in the NFL.
Wow.
He is Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Oh, he's pretty good. Yeah.
He's a very good kicker, but he is still in the league. That's the guy who kicked the walk-off field goal. And if you think, damn, Justin Tucker's old, yes, he is 35. He's been in the league since 2012. And here he is in 2024, still kicking field goals. So yeah, that's who kicked the walk-off field goal, in case you want to know how long ago that was.
Okay. Okay. Carla, any final thoughts from you?
Well, instead of the reveling in the glory that is the Land Grant Trophy this season, we get
No, where I mean, you guys just get to keep that?
I guess until we play next year.
Okay.
Instead we get on 3:30 at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network,
Mhm.
Maryland at number 4 Penn State in Beaver Stadium.
Mhm.
Penn State is favored by AJ, you'll love the math on this one. Penn State is favored by 25. The fun index is 50.5.
Okay.
As AJ is trying to figure out how that math
That
works.
would yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm sad that we don't get a land grant. I'm very, very sad about this. I think Penn State will be ready on Saturday, more so than maybe they were last week on the road.
Mhm.
I think they're gonna be ready for this game and will secure their what likely will be a 6th seed,
Mhm.
probably for
Mhm.
them in the playoff. I think they'll look to be sewing that up. The other game, just kind of like, I know there's a lot going on Saturday night, but a game that the 2 games that are at 7 Eastern, that I kind of went, one maybe not so much. The 7 o'clock on ESPN2 is the in-state rivalry, Florida at Florida State.
Mhm.
That's just going to be a fun chomping. So my friends in Gainesville, including my husband and my daughter, are going to thoroughly enjoy that game. But the game that I suddenly was very interested in, also at
Mhm.
7 on ESPN, Oklahoma at LSU.
Oh, that's got big stupid potential.
That's got
It
big
does. It
stupid
does.
potential. Yes. Unfortunately, we have big stupid potential also potentially happening in College Station at that moment. So, but if you get a quad box that you can put Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, LSU, Washington, Oregon, and Texas, Texas A&M,
Ooh,
that could be real fun. And then like find a 5th screen for Kansas, Iowa State.
okay. That
Um,
sounds like a plan.
there's a lot of fun stuff happening in primetime window this weekend. Oh yeah, Purdue, Indiana is happening then too, but you can probably just watch that for like
You can skip that.
10 minutes and move
Yeah.
on.
You want to see a
You
dead
don't. Yeah,
body?
I mean, unless you're an IU fan, don't watch that game. That's not you don't need to.
But it's going to be a lovely buffet this weekend on a number of
Mhm.
levels between Thanksgiving and football. And as I say every year, this is the one day during the year, the one weekend during the year that it is socially acceptable to eat a giant bowl of mashed potatoes as a meal. I
Yes,
highly encourage
I
you to
agree.
do that. Pour
I
some
agree.
gravy on it, sit down on your couch, watch
Hmm.
some football. It's going to
Hmm.
be a lovely weekend.
I would put a pat of butter there and then the gravy on top of that just to kind of mix up all the different
That's
fats
good.
that are yeah, I
Maybe
think
sprinkle
that's
some
a
stuffing on top too.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Your plan for the late slate is really nice and I'm gonna have to set up YouTube TV on my folks TV in Columbus because that is where I will be. Um We've talked about OU. I don't need to recap that. So we'll see the Bobcats in the MAC title game when we talk about championship week next week. I am confident. I wanted to mention once again Carnegie Mellon faces the Center College Praying Colonels of somewhere in Kentucky at noon on Saturday in the lovely Oakland neighborhood of Pittsburgh. With a win, the Tartans would move on to face the winner of the game between John Carroll, who's a nice guy from Ohio, who put up 50 in their opening round game, or perennial D3 power Mount Union. Ugh. So we'll see how that goes. But first step, Center College, the Tartans are gonna handle their business, I think, and move on. And then you guys didn't really think that was all I was going to say about Ohio State, Michigan, right? You didn't really believe.
Well, we've
that.
had a wonderful show, everybody, and we wish you a
You
wonderful
didn't
time.
really-
Leave us a review.
I was thinking about the season. I was so frustrated with Ohio State's loss at Oregon. There were instances where Ohio State was outcoached. There were instances in that game that seemed familiar because in a big game setting, coaching staff buttoning up and played not to lose. Um, Since then, though, and this was a legit turning point. We had Ohio State had a bye week following that game, and Ryan Day actually took the opportunity to spend time with the defensive players and the defensive coaching staff, and since then, Ohio State has been playing differently. It is tougher against the run. And the point you guys both made about Indiana being able to move the ball early. Northwestern did the same thing. Northwestern had a great first quarter against Ohio State in that game in Chicago. Far more willing to blitz. This is a team that has turned up the aggression. And I think, man, I hope that's going to continue in Saturday on Columbus. And I think for the first time in far too long, after ripping off 8 straight wins against the team up north, I think I'm going to finish the regular season with the smile on my face for the first time in 4 years. This will be the 4th year. Boys and girls, thank you for joining us. Carla, we as always, it is awesome to be able to talk to you about this stuff. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
AJ, the time that you have spent trying to figure out who's going to do what is outstanding. And I appreciate it, and I'm glad you're doing it, because there's no way I would. I would not do it. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Boys and girls, thank you as always for watching, for reading, for listening, for doing all the things that you do for the show. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoy your football this weekend. We hope your team does well, unless you live in Ann Arbor. And we will see you back here next week for championship week. Make sure you come back then, and we'll see you next week. See you guys. Have a great weekend. Cheers.